Hi, my name is Jackie, my legal name is Jackson, and I am trans. Um, this is something that I've hidden from my friends and my family for most of my life, and just recently I have come out to them. For the most part, if you look for videos of other people who are trans, they are already transitioning or at a stage where they are happy with living in their new gender, like they're not going to get anything new done or nothing's new, and they've moved on. I've decided to start making these videos before I began my transition because I always kind of wanted, whenever I'd watch them, I'd wanted to see them move from before all the way through. And it turned from something that wasn't like a, well, back when I did it, it was like this. No, I wanted to see them as they're doing it and kind of like see what's going on with them as they're doing it, not just the picture slideshows, which I do plan on making one. Um, I wanted to actually physically see what was going on, and I'm a past film student. I have done it for a little over a year. I'm enthusiastic about doing it. I plan on getting myself a camera and film software because by now you may have noticed that ringing. That high-pitched ringing is because this is being filmed on my laptop, which is the equivalent of being filmed with a potato. I can do nothing about it. I've tried seeing if it was just with the onboard webcam thing where the ringing shows through, so I played it on other players, the video footage from all of my numerous tests for this, because this is not my first take. And it is present constantly. So I don't have any footage editing software. I'm currently saving up for those. Regardless, I know that some people out there who may come across this and awesome, someone came across it. It's not just buried on YouTube viewless. I know that some people will not approve of what I say and what I believe. This, at least my portion of this, is going to be heavily, I wouldn't say one-sided. It's going to be a lot about the LGBT community and my personal beliefs with that and personal opinion, social issues regarding that, and let's go for the trifecta here, religious reasons, religious problems and issues that show up. And that's something that's not really touched on a lot. I was born December 15th, 1993 in Tacoma, Washington. I have been brought up hardcore Christian, and that's not the kind of Christians, like, there's a lot of people who say they're hardcore Christians, and they go to like a youth group and Sunday church services. No, I was raised hardcore. We only had one book in the house to read, and that was the Bible. There was no cable, there was no video games, there were crucifixes all over and scriptures written on freaking plates. No, there was nothing non-Christian about my home. My mother was really hardcore. You're going to be Christian, and there is nothing you can do about it. And now that I'm older and I've developed my own ideas, I've kind of steered away from not Christianity but organized religion in general. And that's, you can ask me about my religious views, and I'll talk about them some other time. But given that kind of background, I never learned about the LGBT community until I was in junior high. In elementary school, I was completely clueless, and I had feelings of wanting to be a girl from ever since I can remember, and I can remember quite some distance. I can remember when I was, I want to say like 6, 7. My first memory is hysterical, and I'll have to save that for another time, just because this video and all my other tests for this has gotten quite lengthy. So, I was always the kind of kid who was silent. And not silent as I didn't make a sound, silent as in I didn't talk about anything personal. I didn't tell people if I had a stomach ache. I wouldn't tell people if my legs were hurting or something like that. I could be limping on a twisted ankle, and someone could ask me if I'm okay, if I need to go to like the nurses or something. No, I'm fine. That's the kind of person I was. So naturally I didn't tell anyone about emotional issues that were going on, thoughts up here, and conflictions and whatnot. So that's how I was. So I never said anything. And when I was little, how kids do, I played imagination games outside because I did not have video games, or I didn't have a whole lot. I had like 2. I didn't have TV. I didn't have a whole lot of movies. I didn't have a whole lot of anything that I could do. So I played outside. I know, shock. That happened. And we'd play those imagination games, and one of the very few movies I was allowed to watch, which came as a shock to me now, is the X-Men. I was allowed to watch that movie. And that was like my all-time favorite movie of my childhood was X-Men. And it baffled me because my mother's hardcore Christian background. There's a guy in it who plays God at one point. Let's be honest. Probably should have censored that a bit, given her personal beliefs. It's kind of contradictory. Anyway, so me and my friends, we'd be outside and we'd play, and one of them would be Wolverine, the other one would be Cyclops, or any of the other, like, cool, edgy male characters. I mean, no one played Charles Xavier because no one had a wheelchair. I would never play a male person. I'd play Jean Grey, I'd play Storm, I would play the girl who walks through walls at one point in the first movie, who actually becomes a character later, the actress who plays Juno. I would play Mystique, and my friends would always be like, why are you playing those people? And I'd come back with the retort that every smart, self-conscious kid says is, I like their powers. When really it was, I wanted to be a girl. I didn't want to play a guy character. I already have to live as a guy all the time. At some point, I want to be a female. And so that's how that went. And there was never any argument over it. No one ever kept talking about it later. And I moved on. So I lived in Tacoma all the way through 3rd grade, and in 4th grade I moved to Puyallup. And when I moved to Puyallup, I had more spare time. Like, there's more time where I was home alone. My brother would be off at a friend's or something like that. My little brother would be with my mother. Or no, he'd be at daycare because no one could take care of him. And I was in 4th grade. Then you're not going to have a 4th grader watch a baby. You're not. So what I would do is I'd go upstairs and I would borrow a pair of really cute heels from my mother and a really cute dress that was a little smaller so that it would fit me, and I would just go about my business wearing these clothes, and no one ever found out. And it was due to my heightened ability to remember what I see. So I would remember the exact position, the exact location, and the exact position of everything around where I picked up these items. No one ever knew. No one could ever find out. And I did this all the way up through 6th grade. And in 6th grade I stopped. It was going into 7th. And there were points in 7th grade where I would do it every now and then, but it wouldn't be a near daily occurrence. I have to say that this was because of the fact that, again, like the childhood games, I wanted to be female, and people could easily say, well, that's just a fetish, you like to see yourself in girls' clothes. But let's be honest, 4th grade, haven't quite yet hit puberty, so I don't really think fetishes are a thing for a 4th grader. So then that happened, and when I moved to junior high, I had just started learning about the gay, lesbian, bi, not yet trans. I had not learned about trans yet. And, instant Christianity kicked in, just going, that's weird, that's not normal. And just kind of staved myself away from that. And the ironic part is I had actually had a boyfriend before and was going to have a boyfriend later. Looking at time through a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, I was going to have a boyfriend later, and I had a boyfriend previously. I've had 2 boyfriends my entire life and a bunch of girlfriends. That's just how it was. It was me kind of experimenting. But, so yeah, that had happened. And then I moved to high school. And in high school, I had, sophomore year went by, nothing interesting happened. I had entirely stopped cross-dressing at this point. And, sorry, I'm adjusting my laptop. And then in my junior year, I got to meet someone who was trans. And when I met this person, again, instant Christianity kicked in. That's weird. It's not normal. You shouldn't do that. And I never once said stuff like they should burn in hell or they're monsters, demon-possessed, like my mother believes. And it's just the kind of person I am. I've never been big on discrimination. And I have to thank for solidifying that, and being able to actually verbally communicate that kind of thought to my 9th grade history teacher and 12th grade sociology teacher, Mr. O'Reilly. He's a great teacher, and he taught me how to kind of be a better person, as well as history and sociology. And it was through those lessons and that stuff of how I learned to be a better person. And I mean, I was already not very judgmental of anyone, but that kind of hit it home. That made me even less judgmental than I already was. And I can't say that I never have thoughts like, well, I can't believe that person's wearing that. That looks atrocious. They're probably poor. I mean, everyone has thoughts like that. Maybe not the whole poor part, but everyone has thoughts like that. But never once do I let someone else's like personal beliefs or personal outlook or anything, physical appearance, anything like that, color how I see them before I actually get to know them. People, I judge people based on what they show me, and it's not based on what I see. And it's never anything discriminating, like I'm not going to talk to you because you have a different religion than me, or I'm not going to talk to you because you like this certain type of music. I may not like talking to you if you have a certain type of music that you like, because I'm a big music person, but I won't not. So in high school, junior year, I met this trans person, and we started talking, and I did some soul searching after talking to them, and saw how much their childhood psychology and childhood, psychological events, the whole cross-dressing, the whole wanting to be a girl thing, how much of that truly lined up with me. And I decided that this is something that I want to do. I want to explore the idea of changing my gender. And it's definitely solidified more to where that's something that I'm going to do. And I mean, you could say that you're too young to make that kind of decision. And it's not something I made lightly. It really isn't. This was over the course of like the next 2-3 years that I made this decision. And with each time I debated it, it got more and more one side. That was where I was going. So when I first came to this conclusion, I did not tell my family, did not tell my friends. The only person I told that I was considering it was my girlfriend at the time. So during my junior year, there was a lot of rocky. She did not support it at the beginning. She was raised Catholic. Didn't really carry over, but when it came to that, she was set on her beliefs. And eventually she eased up, and after a few ultimatums from her to me of it's either this or me, and let's face it, I'm a great negotiator. She decided she was going to give it a shot, and then I started coming out to some of my friends during my junior year, and I'm going to have to take a sidebar here, and if any of you guys are watching this, thank you for supporting me. Thank you for not treating me any different than you already had. It meant the world to me, and it definitely kept me going, because a lot of people don't know this, but I had a few near suicide attempts from sheer depression, and it was due to my older brother treating me like shit. It was my family not being the best in the world. My parents split up at an early age. It's never easy. And then on top of this internal conflict thing going, it was really nice to have friends who stood by me and, kind of went, you know what? Good. Do it. And then complimenting me when I would cross-dress, like all-out cross-dress, which to me isn't cross-dressing at all. It's how I'm dressed now that is wearing entirely guy clothes. To me, that's cross-dressing. But that's another topic to go for. But thank you again. And so yeah, that was great, and they were entirely supportive. Then during the summer going into my senior year, I decided it's time. Well, I didn't decide anything. Let me backtrack and fix that. During the summer going into my senior year, I'd gone on vacation with my family, and my mother's side, and we had gone up to Ocean Shores, and we were in an RV, and it was like 2 in the morning, so I thought no one was awake, and I was on the phone with my girlfriend at the time, who was the same girlfriend from junior year, and we had been talking. We were talking about surgeries and whatnot, like how am I going to pay for this? And I've already figured all that out, but it's a process that is going to take years, and I know this. And my mother had overheard. She was awake. I didn't know it. And she had overheard surgery. She didn't overhear what specifically, but she had heard surgery. So she confronted me the next day about it. She had said, I overheard this. What's going on? I want to know. And I decided, I had the choice in front of me. I could take one path where I lie to her and cover it up because it was easy. I already had thought of a way I could do it. Or I'd take the other path where I tell her the truth. And I decided now is a better time than any. As good a time as any. And I told her right then what was going on. That I was wanting a sex change, and she wasn't yelling. She was not supportive like I thought she would, because up to this point she was like a mother who backed me up on anything, any decision I wanted to do. I wanted to get into freaking martial arts. She found a martial arts school I could go to. I wanted to do parkour. She signed the waiver. She paid for it. You can go. I wanted to take up music. She made sure I had all the equipment I needed. And we were never financially capable of doing a whole lot, but she found a way and was amazing for it. But this she could not get behind, and that I completely understand to this day. So that had happened, and at one point she even tried to trick me into not doing it, because she's tried persuading me against it all the time, and had said she was going to help me find a therapist. So I was excited, like, yay, that's something I need to do on a legal side of transitioning. Is you need to like meet a certain criteria with like meeting a therapist, being on hormones, living in gender for a certain amount of time before you can have any surgeon touch you. And I was like, cool, I'm going to start the therapy part, because it's years that you have to do that. And the earlier I start means the earlier I'm able to finish transitioning. And as you can see, that didn't happen. Still a guy right now. All right, I have a guy's physical form. And so yeah, it turned out the guy didn't know. He knew next to nothing on the subject. He knew something, but not anything useful. Not anything that I couldn't have already found out from the internet. Like, he could not help me with my psychological processing of it or anything like that. So we went our separate ways. I said, you know what, this time spot in your schedule should be filled by someone who needs you to help them with something you can help them with. And you can't help me. What I need is something you can't provide. And he agreed. We shook hands. I left. But then the scary part came. And it's still summer going in my senior year. My father. I knew I had to tell him. And I had decided that when I was going to tell him, it was going to be when I was moving off to college. Quite literally moving off to college. I plan on going to Western Washington University in Bellingham, which is not in Puyallup. And that got taken from me. I wasn't able to wait. And at this point, I would wear women's shirts under the very hoodie that I'm wearing now. It is my favorite hoodie. I love it, and I still have it, and I have it from my senior year, and I will have it until it is in shambles. And then for a few days after that. But I would fall asleep in like a tank top, and girls' tank top with the little frills and the thin straps. Yeah, that I would sleep in, and my father came to wake me up because I had forgotten to set my alarm the previous night. But he didn't knock on the door, he came in. And my shoulder was exposed with the strap, and you could see the corner of the lace of the tank top, and he asked me what I was wearing, and I knew right then that the cat was out of the bag, the bubble done popped, the secret was out. There's nothing I could do to hide it, so I just outright told him, Dad, I'm trans. And he didn't know what that was, so he what is that? And I said, I am going to be getting a sex change, and I'm going to be transitioning from male to female, and it's something that I have come to the decision of making. And he stood there, and then he left. He went downstairs, and the silence felt like eternity. He then picks up the phone, calls my mother. Oh, because when he was up there, before he left, he asked me if my mother knew. And I said yes. I told her just earlier that summer. I did not tell her I told him that I told her earlier that summer. I just said that I told her. So he went downstairs, called my mother, and starts yelling at her, saying that she was hiding it from him and whatnot. That yelling conversation happens. I'm having a panic attack in my room because I do not handle yelling quite well. And he comes back up. Are you sure you're not gay? Do you like guys? I mean, how is this all going to work? And I told the answers followed with, no, Dad, or yes, Dad, I know I'm not just gay. I don't know if I like guys because I'd only had 2 boyfriends previous, and it was at such a young age that, I mean, there was no way that I could actually tell if I was attracted to them. I was still figuring out who I'm attracted to. And then, no, it's not just a phase. And then he left, and he yelled at my mother some more, and then he came back up, stared at me, asked some of the same questions again, just to really hit home, and then left. And then came back, and then said the final statement that I will remember forever. I think it's best if you go live with your mother full time now. And at this point I was already fully dressed. I grabbed my things, I got in my car, and I drove back to my mother's. And it was like an exodus. I was bawling my eyes out. It was really hard to drive. It was raining. I was bawling, so I could barely see. And there was at one point I thought I was going to have to pull over and just cry solidly, but I didn't. I kept going, which was probably not smart, but I did it anyway, and I survived. No one got hurt. And like a boss, I cried for a few hours and then went to school. And no one knew. No one could tell, because I was an expert at hiding everything. You would be surprised what a smile can hide. And I had only told my girlfriend. She had known, like I told her in the midst of it happening, like when he was downstairs yelling, I was on the phone, a cell phone, talking to her. And so that had happened. Scary part over. I was kicked out of my dad's. We do talk now. We talk, we hang out every now and then. I'm actually going to be seeing him in a couple weeks just to chill, hang out. And, you know, my birthday's coming, so we're going to do a little celebration probably. So, yeah, at this point, going into my senior year, I'd wear girl shirts constantly. I'd wear guy shirts only when I ran out of girl shirts and they were all in the wash. And I actually started doing my own laundry because my mom did not want to do them for me. She didn't even want to touch them, which seemed kind of weird. He's like, you own clothes like this too, whatever. So that had happened. So during my senior year, about midway through, I started wearing girls' pants to school as well. It started leaving the hoodie. And I have some pretty darn good hearing, and I would hear some pretty nasty comments from around. But you know what? I soldiered on. I went through, and then I graduated. High school over. And me and my girlfriend at the time were starting to go through a bit of a rough patch. And shortly after, we broke up. It turned out that all of her support for me was forced and faked. And you may have been able to infer that from how I said it earlier, but yes, it was forced and faked. And you could also be wondering, how on earth do you know? You're not her, nor are you a mind reader. I know this because the trans friend that I have was friends with her as well, and when we broke up, shortly after, they had dated, and then they broke up for the reason that she couldn't be attracted to girls, and the more that she saw my friend as a girl, the less she was attracted, which showed me that she really just didn't support trans at all. And she's not a lesbian, let's put it that way. She's not a lesbian. She is straight, nothing against her. That is her, and she should never have tried to force it in the first place. She should have just We should have split if she didn't agree with it. That's what really should have happened. But you know what? Don't should on yourself. Things happened. Time has passed. Here I am now. So I'm currently now trying to. It's been less than a year. It's almost been. It's a little over. I want to say it's gonna be almost half a year, and I'm trying to move on. I've been spending some time being single for a while, and I hate being single. I hate the feeling of being alone. But so that had happened. When I moved to college, I got to meet another trans person who is now actually helping me with this very channel. I came to her earlier this week and said, you know what, let's do this. This is something we should do, and agreed, and we're doing it. So that's basically leading from my childhood up to now. Like I said, I have not started seeing any therapists yet. I have not started hormones. I just got my first job, so now after I've solidified how much I make, I will start actually considering seeing someone. And that will all depend on budget, insurance, all that junk. So thank you for sitting through this near half an hour long video, if you've sat through here, and putting up with that annoying squeak or ringing, and I will try to get that taken care of as soon as possible. So there's a Facebook link below to the page that is linked to this channel. Feel free to leave comments on the channel or comments on the page, and I will refer to both. Questions, if you're going to ask questions of anyone, please make sure you leave their name. So for me, you can put Jackson, spelled Jaxon, or you can put Jackie, Jacky, and I will answer them after I've collected some. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys next time.